The large alien ship appeared in Earth's orbit without warning. It was smooth and silver, shaped like a giant teardrop, and easily 4 times larger than the biggest human space station. People all over Earth looked up at the night sky and saw it gleaming above them. Captain John Miller stood by the window in the United Earth Command Center, his hands clasped behind his back. Next to him, Ambassador Susan Wright adjusted her formal blue suit and took a deep breath. "Are you ready for this, Ambassador?" Miller asked, his voice calm despite the tension in the room. "As ready as anyone can be for first contact," Susan replied. She had spent her entire career preparing for this moment. "Let's just hope they're friendly." The command center buzzed with activity. Screens showed the alien ship from various angles. Military personnel moved quickly between stations, their faces serious. 3 hours later, John and Susan sat at a long table in the newly prepared meeting room. The wall screen showed crowds gathered in cities worldwide, watching and waiting. This was the moment that would change human history forever. The door opened. 5 aliens walked in. Each one looked completely different from the others. The one in front was tall and thin with purple skin and 4 arms. Behind it came a short, round creature covered in what looked like golden fur. The third floated above the ground, transparent like a jellyfish. The fourth walked on 6 legs and had a hard shell like an insect. The last one looked almost human, except for its completely black eyes and silver hair. "I am XR Thellos," said the purple one in perfect English, "head diplomat of the Galactic Council. We have been watching your planet for many years." Susan stood up and smiled. "Welcome to Earth. I am Ambassador Susan Wright, and this is Captain John Miller. We represent the United Earth government." Thellos did not return the smile. "We are here to offer Earth a position in the Galactic Council." John and Susan exchanged hopeful glances. This was better than they had expected. "We would be honored," Susan began, but XR Thellos raised one of his 4 hands to stop her. "As a protectorate," the alien continued, "with limited rights and privileges, your species is considered too volatile and unpredictable for full membership." The room went quiet. John felt his jaw tighten. "What exactly does protectorate mean?" he asked carefully. The jellyfish-like alien floated forward. Its voice sounded like bubbles popping. "It means we will protect you from external threats. You will follow council laws. Your ships will be limited to your own solar system. Your technologies will be monitored and controlled. This is for your own safety and for the safety of the galaxy." Susan straightened her back. "And if we want equal standing in the council, full membership?" The golden furry alien made a noise that might have been a laugh. "Impossible. Your species is too young, too aggressive. Perhaps in 1,000 years, you might be reconsidered." John stood up slowly. "So we're being offered a cage with nice decorations." "A reasonable description," said XR Thellos. "We have made this offer to 16 other species. All accepted. All now live in peace under our protection." Susan's diplomatic smile disappeared. "Earth must respectfully decline your offer. We are willing to join the Galactic Council, but only as equals." The aliens looked at each other. The insect-like one clicked its mandibles in what seemed like surprise. "That would be unwise," said XR Thellos. "There will be consequences for defiance." John stepped forward. "Is that a threat?" "A reality," replied XR Thellos. "We will give you 72 hours to reconsider. Think carefully." The aliens left as suddenly as they had arrived. As the door closed, Susan turned to John. "Get me Admiral Hayes," she said quietly. "We need to prepare." In her office across the building, Admiral Patricia Hayes was already reviewing Earth's defense systems. Her computer screen showed every military satellite, every space station, every ship Earth had. "So they're not friendly after all," she murmured to herself. She pulled up the file labeled First Contact, Hostile Response. She had created it years ago, hoping never to need it. "Computer, activate Protocol Shield," she said clearly. "Authorization Hayes Alpha 7-2. All around Earth, hidden defense systems began to power up. 2 weeks after the Galactic Council delegation left, Earth discovered what consequences meant. A ring of alien ships formed around the entire solar system. No messages came from them. They simply sat there, blocking the way out. Alan Foster stood in the engine room of the cargo ship Horizon, looking at the problems on his screen. The ship had been on its way to the colony on Mars when all their systems started to act strange. "How bad is it?" asked Diane Clark as she walked in. As the ship's pilot, she needed to know if they could keep flying. Alan shook his head. "Our communication beacons aren't working. I think they're being jammed." "By those council ships?" Diane asked, leaning over to look at his screen. "Has to be. The technology is nothing like ours." Ellen pointed to a pattern on the screen. "It's like they're putting up a wall around us. Not just physical ships, but signals too." Back on Earth, reports came in from all human ships. None could communicate beyond the solar system. Trade ships that had been outside when the blockade started were being turned away from every port in nearby systems. Admiral Hayes called an emergency meeting. Captain Miller, Ambassador Wright, and 20 other top officials sat around a large table. "It's an isolation attempt," said Hayes. "The Council is putting us in a timeout like children." Susan Wright looked tired. She hadn't slept much since the Council left. "They want us to feel the pain of being alone, to come crawling back and accept their terms." "Well, that's not happening," said Miller firmly. "What are our options?" A young scientist raised her hand. "We've been working on quantum entanglement communication. It might let us talk to our ships without using normal signals that can be blocked." "How soon?" asked Hayes. "A month, maybe 2. Hayes nodded. "Make it a priority." 3 months later, Alan Foster was testing the new quantum communicator on the Horizon when it suddenly activated on its own. "Hello? Is anyone receiving this?" The voice wasn't human. Alan looked at Diane in shock before answering. "This is Engineer Foster on the Earth ship Horizon. Who am I speaking with?" "I am Zek of the Vexar. We are not supposed to be talking to you." The voice sounded nervous. "But many of us in the Council disagree with how you are being treated." "Why are you contacting us?" Alan asked carefully. "Your defiance impressed many. No species has ever refused the Council's offer. Some of us believe this means you deserve respect, not punishment." Over the next few weeks, Alan and Diane learned much from their secret Vexar contact. The Galactic Council was not as united as they had pretended to be. Several races were uncomfortable with the treatment of Earth. Alan worked day and night on a new idea. Using information from Zek, he developed a stealth system that might allow small ships to slip through the blockade. "It bends light around the ship," he explained to Diane and Admiral Hayes, "and it masks our energy signature. We might be able to get past their ships without being seen." Hayes looked at the plans. "It's risky, but necessary," said Diane. "We need to establish trade with friendly aliens. Show the Council they can't control us." Hayes thought for a long moment. "How soon can you test it?" "The prototype is ready now," Alan said. 3 days later, Diane sat in the pilot's seat of a small scout ship covered in Alan's new technology. The ship was dark and silent, drifting toward the blockade line. "If you're detected, turn back immediately," Hayes ordered through the quantum communicator. "That's an order, Clark." "Understood, Admiral," Diane replied, her hand steady on the controls. She held her breath as the ship passed near one of the massive Council blockade vessels. Nothing happened. No alarms, no pursuit. She was through. "I made it," she whispered into the communicator. "I'm past the blockade." On Earth, Alan pumped his fist in celebration. "Now the real work begins," said Hayes, allowing herself a small smile. "We need to establish underground trade networks. Find more allies like the Vexar." Earth was isolated, but not beaten. The fight had only just begun. 2 years passed since the Galactic Council's blockade began. Earth had changed. People looked to the stars with determination instead of wonder. Ships slipped through the blockade regularly now, bringing back alien technology and news. Ambassador Susan Wright stood by the window of the diplomatic meeting room, watching the second council delegation arrive. Their ship was smaller this time, less impressive. She smiled slightly at that. Kevin Rodriguez, the new diplomatic officer, entered the room and stood beside her. At 34, he was younger than most in his position, but he had proven himself skilled at forming connections with alien races. "Are you ready for round 2? Susan asked him. Kevin nodded. They wouldn't be here if the blockade was working as well as they hoped. The door opened, and 3 aliens entered. Haxar Thelos was among them, his purple skin looking slightly paler than before. The other 2 were new, one with scaled skin that shifted colors and another that seemed to be made of living crystal. "Ambassador Wright," Haxar Thelos said with a stiff bow, "the Council has authorized me to present revised terms." Susan gestured to the table. "Please sit. This is Diplomatic Officer Rodriguez." Kevin nodded politely but did not smile. Thelos placed a small device on the table that projected a document in the air. "The Council is prepared to offer Earth status as an associate member rather than a protectorate. You would have limited voting rights on minor issues and restricted travel to approved systems." Susan looked at the terms carefully. "This is still not equal membership. It is a significant improvement," the crystal alien chimed in, its voice ringing like bells. "No species has ever moved from protectorate offer to associate status so quickly." Kevin leaned forward. "And if we refuse again?" The color-shifting alien scales turned a deep red. "Then more severe measures will be considered. The Council's patience is not unlimited. Some members are pushing for military action." Susan and Kevin exchanged glances. This was the threat they had been expecting. "Perhaps," Kevin said carefully, "the Council should consider who they're threatening before making such claims. Your defenses are primitive compared to Council technology," Haxar Thelos said dismissively. Kevin smiled. "Are they? And I wonder if the Council is as united as you pretend. We've made some interesting friends over the past 2 years." The 3 aliens shifted uncomfortably. "What do you mean?" asked the crystal being. "Earth has formed alliances with the Vexar, the Murdani, and the Kaltorans," Kevin said, naming 3 races that the Council considered undesirable for various reasons. The color shifter's scales turned pale blue, a sign of shock. Susan guessed. "Impossible," Haxar Thelos sputtered. "Those races barely tolerate each other, let alone humans. We have a talent for bringing people together," Susan said, "especially those who have also been treated unfairly by the Council." The crystal alien made a sound like breaking glass. "This changes the assessment. We should also mention," Kevin added, "that our ships have visited 17 systems beyond the blockade. Your isolation attempt has failed." Haxar Thelos stood abruptly. "These claims will be investigated. If true, the Council will need to reconsider its approach to Earth." "We look forward to hearing from you," Susan said calmly, "preferably with an offer of equal membership." After the aliens left, Kevin turned to Susan. "Do you think they'll attack?" Before Susan could answer, alarms blared throughout the building. A voice came over the speaker system. "Unidentified ships approaching Jupiter's orbit. All personnel to alert stations." Susan rushed to the command center with Kevin close behind. Admiral Hayes was already there, looking at the large screen showing 5 small Council ships moving toward Earth. "They didn't waste any time," Hayes said grimly. "Looks like a scouting force." "Are they breaking the peace?" Susan asked. Hayes nodded. "They've crossed the boundary we established. I'm sending ships to intercept." Kevin watched the screen as Earth's defense ships moved to meet the intruders. "So it begins," he said quietly. The first military skirmish between Earth and the Galactic Council was about to happen, and the galaxy would never be the same. The skirmish near Jupiter ended quickly. Earth's ships had better weapons than the Council expected. 2 Council ships were damaged, and the rest retreated. But everyone knew this was just the beginning. 3 months later, Earth's long-range sensors detected something alarming. A massive Council war fleet gathering at Alpha Centauri, the star system nearest to Earth. "How many ships?" Admiral Hayes asked, her face grim as she stood in the command center. "Over 200, the sensor officer replied. "More arriving every day." Hayes turned to Captain Miller, who had been promoted to her second-in-command. "They're not coming to talk this time." Miller nodded. "Time to show them our surprise." On the hidden lunar base, Commander Lisa Martinez watched as technicians made final adjustments to the control systems. For 2 years, Earth had been building a defense grid around the entire solar system. Thousands of small, automated weapons platforms positioned in a sphere far beyond Pluto's orbit. They had been placed in secret by stealth ships. "Status report," Martinez ordered. "Grid is at 98% operational capacity, Commander," a young technician answered. "All units responding." Martinez allowed herself a small smile. The Council thought they were dealing with a helpless, primitive species. They were about to learn differently. At Earth's main science facility, Chief Scientist Gregory Bell was showing Hayes and Ambassador Wright Earth's trump card. "We call it the FTL Disruptor," Bell explained, pointing to a device that looked like a silver sphere with glowing blue lines across its surface. When activated, it creates a field that makes faster-than-light travel impossible within 5 light-years of Earth. Susan's eyes widened. So their ships would be stuck at normal speed. Bell nodded. It would take them 4 years just to reach Earth from Alpha Centauri at normal speed. And our weapons would have all that time to target them. "Will it work?" Hayes asked. "In theory, yes," Bell replied. "But we've never tested it at full scale. There's risk. Less risk than facing their fleet in direct combat," Hayes said firmly. Meanwhile, in a secret meeting room, Kevin Rodriguez sat with representatives from the Andorians and Proteans, 2 Council species that had decided to support Earth. "The Council doesn't know we're here," said the Andorian, a tall being with blue skin and antennae. "If they find out, our worlds will face sanctions." "We understand the risk you're taking," Kevin said. "And we're grateful." "The Council has ruled too long without challenge," the Procyon replied. It looked like a large raccoon standing on 2 legs. "Many species are watching Earth's resistance with hope." "Will you fight alongside us if it comes to war?" Kevin asked. The Andorian shook its head. "Not openly, but we can provide intelligence and supplies, and we can ensure parts of the Council fleet have technical difficulties." 2 days later, Admiral Hayes stood before the United Earth Defense Council. The room was packed with military and civilian leaders. "The Council fleet will reach attack position in 5 days," she said, her voice strong and clear. "They think we'll surrender when we see their numbers. They're wrong." She pulled up images of Earth's defenses. The grid, the FTL disruptor, the upgraded weapons. "We did not ask for war," Hayes continued, "but we will not submit to tyranny. Humanity will stand as equals in this galaxy, or we will stand alone." The room erupted in applause. On the 5th day, Earth watched and waited. The defense grid was fully active. The FTL disruptor was ready. Every ship was on high alert. The Council fleet emerged from faster-than-light travel just beyond Neptune's orbit. Hundreds of ships arranged in perfect formation. Then, nothing happened. The Council fleet stopped advancing. Long-range sensors showed the ships were active but not moving closer. "What are they waiting for?" Miller asked. Hayes watched the screen carefully. "They're realizing they've been outmaneuvered. Our defenses are stronger than they expected, and I suspect our new friends gave them some warnings about what would happen if they attacked." After 3 tense hours, the Council fleet turned around and left the solar system. The war that everyone expected never happened. Earth had stood its ground. And for the first time in its history, the Galactic Council had backed down. 5 years passed since the Council fleet turned away. Earth had changed even more. The blockade around the solar system remained, but it had more holes than a fishing net. Human ships came and went almost freely, and humans were not staying in their home system anymore. Nathan Sanders stepped out of his ship onto the soil of Proxima, the planet orbiting Earth's nearest stellar neighbor. He looked at the buildings rising around him. Unlike the metal and glass structures humans might have built in the past, these were made to work with the planet, not against it. Some were grown from local plants, others built into hillsides or suspended between trees. "How's the newest human colony doing?" asked a voice behind him. Nathan turned to see Olivia Foster, Alan's daughter. At 25, she had already surpassed her father in engineering skill. Her new faster-than-light drive designs allowed human ships to travel farther and faster than ever before. "Growing quickly," Nathan replied. 3,000 settlers now, and more arriving every month. The locals are getting used to us. Proxima already had native inhabitants, small furry beings called the Lyri. Unlike the council races, they had welcomed human settlers and were eager to learn from them. "And the council?" Olivia asked. Nathan smiled. "They sent a message demanding we leave. We sent back pictures of humans and Lyri building a school together." He shrugged. "Haven't heard from them since." Meanwhile, across the galaxy, human trade ships were making stops at more and more worlds. Some openly welcomed them. Others did business in secret, away from council observers. On a trading outpost orbiting a gas giant, 200 light-years from Earth, Captain Diane Clark, now commanding her own ship, was negotiating with a merchant from a council race called the Tellarites. "These prices are too high," the Tellarite grumbled, its pig-like snout twitching. "The council forbids trade with humans. I'm taking a big risk." "The council forbids a lot of things," Diane replied calmly. "But here we are, doing business anyway. And I notice your government isn't stopping you." The Tellarite made a snorting sound that might have been a laugh. "The council's grip is slipping. Too many races have seen that humans stood up to them and survived." It leaned closer. "Did you know the Regelians have started copying your Earth music? And Centauri restaurants now serve something called pizza." Diane smiled. Human culture was spreading, even without official approval. Back on Earth, Commander Lisa Martinez was leading a security briefing with a mixed team of humans and aliens. The defensive grid she had once commanded was now staffed by officers from a dozen different species. "The Council has doubled patrols near the Sirius system," reported an officer from the Vexar. "They suspect humans are building another colony there." "Are we?" asked another alien officer. Martinez smiled. "What the Council doesn't know won't hurt them." In deep space, a sleek Earth ship approached an enormous space station. The station hung at the crossroads of several major trade routes. Its central dome was painted with symbols representing dozens of alien cultures. Inside the station, Ambassador Susan Wright walked with Kevin Rodriguez down a long hallway. Wright's hair had turned gray, but her steps were still firm and confident. "I never thought I'd see this day," she said quietly. Rodriguez nodded. The first official human embassy on a non-allied world, despite council protests. The doors at the end of the hall opened to reveal a large chamber filled with representatives from at least 20 different species. When Wright and Rodriguez entered, the aliens fell silent. Ambassador Wright of Earth announced a tall, insect-like being. "The Galactic Trading Coalition welcomes you and recognizes Earth's diplomatic mission." Across the galaxy, the Council held an emergency meeting. News of Earth's official recognition by the Trading Coalition had spread quickly. "This cannot be allowed," shouted a Council elder, pounding his tentacle on the table. "Humans are expanding too quickly, making too many friends. They must be contained." Another Council member, newer and younger, spoke up. "Perhaps we should consider that our approach to Earth was wrong from the beginning. Maybe humans deserve full membership after all." The elder stared in shock. Such words would have been unthinkable 5 years ago. But the times were changing, and Earth was leading the way. 10 years had passed since the first contact. The galaxy was changing. Word of Earth's defiance had spread to every corner of known space. The Galactic Council's power was no longer unquestioned. More and more species were looking to humans as an example of how to stand up for themselves. Inside the Grand Council chambers, chaos reigned. The giant circular room, once a place of order and control, now echoed with angry voices. Half the council members were shouting at the other half. "This human problem has gone too far," bellowed Axar Thelos, now a senior elder. "They have corrupted the Vexar, the Andorians, the Proteans, and dozens of smaller races with their ideas of equality and self-determination." Across the chamber, a younger council member from the Andorian delegation rose. "Perhaps these are not such terrible ideas. Many worlds have prospered more in free trade with humans than they ever did under council restrictions." "Traitor!" someone shouted. Guards had to step between arguing council members. The council was falling apart from within. On a space station at the edge of Procyon space, Kevin Rodrigues met secretly with representatives from 15 species. Some were longtime council races. Others were newer species that had been ignored or pushed aside by the council. "The situation in the council is getting dangerous," said the Vexar diplomat Sec, who had first contacted humans years ago. "The hardliners are planning a purge of any members who support humans or human ideas." "How bad will it be?" Kevin asked. "Arrests, ship seizures, possibly even military action against worlds seen as too friendly to Earth," Zek replied. "They are desperate to hold on to control." Kevin looked around the table. "Then we need to help those at risk. Earth can offer sanctuary." The representatives nodded in agreement. The plan they made that day would save thousands of lives. Back on Earth, Ambassador Susan Wright, now in her 70s, read the reports from across the galaxy with growing concern. She had spent the last decade building bridges between humans and alien races. Now those bridges were being threatened. "I need to address the council directly," she told Admiral Hayes. "They need to hear from a human voice, face to face." Hayes frowned. "It could be dangerous. The hardliners might try to capture you." "It's a risk we have to take," Susan replied. "This could be our best chance to prevent a galactic civil war." 2 weeks later, Susan Wright stood before the full Galactic Council. It was the first time in history that a human had been allowed to speak in these chambers. Every seat was filled. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut with a knife. "Members of the Galactic Council," Susan began, her voice strong despite her age. 10 years ago, you came to Earth and offered us a place as second-class citizens in your galactic society. We refused, not out of pride or stubbornness, but because we believe that all intelligent species deserve respect and self-determination." Murmurs spread through the chamber, some angry, some approving. "Look around you," Susan continued. "The old way of forcing compliance is failing. Species across the galaxy are asking why some have power while others do not. They are questioning why the council gets to decide who trades with whom, who travels where, who develops what technology. These are dangerous ideas," shouted an elder. Susan smiled. "Ideas are only dangerous to systems that cannot adapt. Earth offers a different vision of galactic society, one where all species work together as equals, where cooperation replaces control." Her speech continued for 10 more minutes. By the end, the council chamber was split between those applauding and those shouting in anger. That night, news of what people were calling the human approach spread across thousands of worlds. Recordings of Susan's speech were shared on every communication channel. And then the purge began. Council hardliners ordered the arrest of human sympathizers across council space. Ships were sent to blockade worlds that had openly traded with Earth. But they were too late. Kevin Rodrigues and his coalition of allies were already moving. Secret ships evacuated threatened council members and their families. Safe routes were established to Earth and human colonies. What the Council hardliners didn't realize was that their desperate attempt to maintain control would only accelerate their downfall. 15 years after the first contact, the old Galactic Council structure finally collapsed. The hardliners' purge had backfired completely. When they tried to arrest Council members who supported human ideas, entire planetary systems rebelled. Ships refused orders. Trade stopped. In the end, the council that had ruled for 10,000 years fell apart in less than a year. From the ashes of the old order, something new emerged: the Galactic Confederation. Unlike the council, the Confederation was built on the principles of equality and mutual respect. All member species had the same rights and one vote each, regardless of how old or advanced their civilization was. Michelle Hayes, daughter of Admiral Patricia Hayes, stood on the platform in the new Confederation Assembly Hall. At 32, she had her mother's steady gaze and commanding presence. As Earth's first representative to the new galactic government, she carried a heavy responsibility. "Are you nervous?" asked Kevin Rodriguez, now serving as her advisor. His hair had turned gray during the years of secret work to help council reformers. Michelle smiled. "A little. It's not every day you help write a new chapter in galactic history." The assembly hall filled with representatives from over 100 species. Some were former council races. Others had been considered too primitive or unimportant by the old council. Now they sat as equals. Zarvek, a tall being with golden skin who had once been a minor council assistant, but now served as the assembly's first speaker, called for order. "Today we welcome our final founding members and sign the Confederation Charter," Zarvek announced. "Would the representatives of Earth and Andoria please come forward?" Michelle walked to the center of the hall alongside the Andorian representative. Together they would complete the circle of founding members. In the audience, Susan Wright watched with tears in her eyes. Her health was failing, but she had insisted on being present for this historic moment. Beside her sat John Miller, Alan Foster, and Diane Clark, the people who had been there at the beginning of Earth's stand against the Council. "Did you ever imagine it would end like this?" John asked Susan quietly. She shook her head. "I hoped we might eventually get equal membership in the Council. I never dreamed we would help build something better to replace it." On the platform, Michelle signed the charter on behalf of Earth. The document contained principles that would have been unthinkable under the old council: free trade between all members, open sharing of technology, respect for cultural differences, and protection for developing species. With these final signatures, the Galactic Confederation is officially established, Zarvek announced. The hall erupted in applause. Later that day, representatives from the former council races approached the Earth delegation at the celebration. "We must apologize for our approach when we first contacted your world," said a Tellarite diplomat. "We were wrong to try to limit you." Michelle nodded graciously. "The important thing is that we found a better way forward together." Across the room, Kevin Rodriguez was speaking with a group of younger aliens who had been running Earth-style diplomatic academies on their homeworlds. "The human approach has become quite popular," said a young Bexar. "Our students study how Earth turned enemies into allies and built connections instead of walls." Kevin smiled. "Just be sure to teach them about our mistakes, too. We didn't always get it right." The celebration was interrupted when Zarvek called for attention. "We have just received word that a new species has been detected at the edge of known space. Their ships have entered Confederation territory." The room fell silent. Everyone remembered how first contact with humans had nearly led to war. "We should send a delegation immediately," said one of the former council members, falling back into old patterns. "Assess if they are a threat." Michelle stepped forward. "No, we should welcome them properly, as equals. Invite them to meet with the full assembly if they wish." Zarvek nodded in agreement. "Let us show them the best of what we have become." He turned to Michelle. "Would you join the welcome party, Representative Hayes? Your experience might be valuable." As Michelle prepared to meet the new aliens, she thought about the journey that had brought humanity to this point. From outcasts to leaders in just 15 years. The cycle was beginning again, but this time with humans ensuring fair treatment from the start. And as Zarvek and Michelle set out to greet the newcomers, they carried with them the Confederation Charter with its simple first line: all sentient beings are created equal.